I was supposed to work on editing my older photos today, but then I noticed that Lightroom had an update 2 weeks ago, October 2024. Totally got distracted and I played around to see what's new, and I just gotta say, these updates make life a tiny bit easier. Not to the extent that it can edit away all my problems, but it's something. So the first thing that you may have noticed a while ago is that my Lightroom catalog has a very special name. And this new Lightroom update lets you rename the catalog directly from the Files menu, and then you can rename it to something a bit more special. But for me, I think catalog version 13-3 is already good enough for my purposes. The next update that might be a bit more interesting for you is that AI denoise now supports a lot more file formats. Wasn't too big of a change for me because the previous version of AI denoise already supported RAW, which I particularly used for a lot of my astro photos, for example. But if you've never been able to play around with this, then you just simply go to the Lightroom Develop module, and then under the Details section, go to Noise Reduction, and what it does is it analyzes your photos, and then you can select the intensity of the AI denoise. Typically, I hover around 25 to 30 as I don't want to go overboard, because if you pull that slider all the way to 100, then your image just looks like it's weird, unless you know that's kind of your thing. But one thing to note is that it doesn't support TIFF file formats still. And this mostly affects my workflow because whenever I click on that edit in Adobe Photoshop and then make my adjustments in Photoshop and then import it back to Lightroom, it creates a TIFF file format, and then you won't be able to apply this feature in that file itself. So if that's part of your workflow, then you need to be aware of that and apply AI denoise before you work in Photoshop and back. The next update is that they've released what you call adaptive presets. So there's one for sky, subject, portraits, and blur background. Previously, the Lightroom presets are global adjustments. And what I mean by this is that when you apply the Lightroom presets, it affects your image in its entirety. These adaptive presets make use of Lightroom's masking tools and then apply selective adjustments in those particular areas. So just to give an example, so this is a portrait of my beautiful friend Carmen from Thailand, and there are going to be different selections for adaptive presets for portraits. And then if we just try to click on maybe smooth facial skin, then if you go to the mask, you will see that there's a smooth facial skin mask already created. And then if we toggle that on and off, you can see that it smoothens out her skin. And then you can also do that for, let's say, darken eyebrows, which it's going to be quite straightforward, and you can see that it darkens her eyebrows directly. And then if we click whiten teeth, you can see now that there's a teeth mask, and then it just whitens her teeth. Now she has a perfect smile, but she's always had a perfect smile anyway. So the adaptive preset that I probably will use a lot more often is going to be the skies, because I do a lot more landscape photography than I do for portraits. And to give an example, this is a shot that I took in Switzerland. And then you can see that we have other selections as well. There's blue drama, and it just makes it a lot cooler and then darkens the luminance of the sky as well, and it makes it a lot punchier, I suppose. There's more contrast in the sky. Then darker drama is sort of a similar effect, but just punchier in terms of the drama, to put it simply. Then blue pop, it kind of makes it like a painterly glow, kind of a very fairy tale-like kind of pop. Then let's see, golden hour, as expected, it just makes things a lot warmer. Then neon tropics, let's see what it does. Ooh, that is not good at all. It's not realistic. So just one thing that I realized, when you look at the edges of the mountains over here, there's going to be a tiny bit of haloing. So that's an indication that the masking is not perfect. So the next update is that generative remove is now out of early access. And if you have something in your photo that the previous clone stamp or content aware remove isn't able to handle, like your big ex-girlfriend, then this is a useful tool for you. To give an example, well, I don't have an ex-girlfriend that I want to remove from existence, so let's just use this photo. You just simply go to the remove panel, and then make sure these two are checked, the use Gen AI and detect objects. And then what it does is that it will ask for you to create a mask around the object that you want to create. So let's just remove myself from existence. And then you can see the detected region that it masked around. And then you can refine your selection. You can add or subtract based on the brush tool. And then you just click remove. And then it's going to analyze the selected area and then replace it with a Gen AI related content. And then that looks a bit okay, that looks like it worked out fine. But one thing to note is that you shouldn't be using this on larger selections. So if we zoom in closely for this image, you can see that the generated content has a different resolution to the original image. And for the pixel peepers out there, they are going to spot this for sure on, like very, very large selections. The next update, I don't know if I'm going to use it that much, but if your photos are so good that people actually think that it's generated content nowadays, that's something that's very, very controversial in the photography community right now, then you can use this new update called the content credentials, which basically when you export your image from Lightroom, for example, do this, export, there is going to be a tab for content credentials. And what this does is it sort of like adds a digital signature to your image and also gives some supporting information on what type of edits were applied for that whenever you upload it online or share your image online. And just to give an example, you can go to this website called contentcredentials.org, and then if you go to the inspect, and then if you drag an image that you exported with your content credentials, it will show who it was produced by and then the process applied on the images, and then you can see that there's no AI generated, and that basically proves that your image is going to be a real photo rather than AI. And to see what happens if we export a file that has AI generated content, then you can see that it says that at least one was generated with an AI tool. So this update probably just something for you to prove that your image was a real photo. There are other feature enhancements that I personally wouldn't use too much, but if you're interested, do check it out from the Adobe website. And hopefully you found this video quite informative. And if you enjoyed, then why don't you click on this video? See you there. Thanks for watching.